Hello everyone, and welcome to another royal reading. It's Friday afternoon, a very cold Friday afternoon here in South Africa, and South Africa is the topic of this reading. Africa, and specifically South Africa, because we have been hearing rumours for a while that the Parkles have been planning some sort of Netflix documentary in South Africa, building houses. Meghan was going to advise women on safe birth practices, which caused some eye rolls and some hilarity, of course, in certain quarters where there are certain suspicions about her knowledge and experience of giving birth. But that's all gone quiet. And then came the story that actually the South Africans weren't interested, didn't want the Parkles around. They were getting a rather chilly reception, and South Africans were not wanting to be exploited by the Parkles. So there's that problem. Then we have got one of Bookworm 2's rumours. I've been reading on her latest bit of gossip, and one of the stories that she's heard from sources is that Harry is very worried about the visa situation, the drug problem, of course, and his visa application. And there is litigation about this at the moment. The Heritage, I think it's the Heritage Foundation, are applying for access to that paperwork to see whether he lied on his visa application. And they, I think, just reapplied or done something to try and hurry things along, speed things up. So they're not letting it go. Apparently Harry is very worried about being kicked out of the US and does not want to go back to the UK with his tail between his legs if things fall apart with Meghan and he does get kicked out, and then he's got to go back to Blighty and like the big failure that he is. So he is considering going to Africa, and in particular South Africa. So that's that rumour. And then just by pure coincidence, sheer coincidence, I went and looked randomly at Marjorie Orr's website, and that it would be ORR. She's an astrologer who looks at world news, world events, celebrities, politicians, that sort of thing. And there it was, the top reading that she's done is about Harry and Africa and his destiny in Africa, which spooked me a little bit because it's been on the radar for me to do a reading on it, and yet there it was. And she thinks that with complex astrology, we won't go into how she reached this conclusion, but if you're interested, you can go and find it on Marjorie Orr's website. Just Google her and you'll find it. She seems to think that Africa is his destiny, and that if he does go to Africa, he will transform, and he will also do very valuable work in Africa. So I have seen Africa repeatedly in my cards. When I look at Harry, it often shows up for me, and I think, yeah, he's on his way. Chelsea, of course, is happily married and not interested, but the continent is still available for the has-been prince. So that's a long preamble to tell you that I have the Lunar Soul Tarot on the tarot table. There it is, Lunar Soul Tarot, and I think it's got Africa in it. It's got that sort of vibe. It's got lions and pyramids and things. But we're going to just have a look at all these various related stories. The Netflix story, where they're planning something. Has it been shelved because of lack of enthusiasm in South Africa for the whole thing? So that's the first question. Then I want to know what's going on with the visa thing. Is he really worried? Is it at risk? I have looked at it. I didn't get that vibe particularly, but is he worried? And how does he feel about going back to the UK as a failure? So the final collection of questions for this reading will be, with the Lunar Soul Tarot, would he end up in South Africa on his own? And would this be the making of him and the saving of South Africa? Is this his destiny? So wow, who'd have thunk? I think one of these cards has flipped over, but never mind, doesn't matter. Yeah, I can see a card that's flipped over in the deck, but I'm just going to look, and of course always remind you, tarot for entertainment, it's fun, it's all opinion, it's all speculation, it is archetypal energy that we read here and we learn from, because it involves the royal family, and of course disclaimer in the box below, and that's taken care of our business end of things. And there's the reading, and we have got the Five of Wands in reverse as our underlying energy. That's somebody who's very tired of all the conflict in their lives. It's one of the conflict cards in the tarot. Is exhausted, it's a struggle, all of this fighting with everybody, fighting with people that used to be good friends, people who were on his side, part of his team, his supporters, fighting with him, all this competition, all this aggression, all this we must climb the greasy pole. He's had enough of it. He's really sick of it. He's tired of it. With a Five of Wands in reverse, he's quite defeated. He's quite exhausted. He got very aggressive, very overambitious for a while, but it's fading. That is my interpretation. Let's see the heart of this reading, please. About Harry and Africa, the Queen. The Queen of Wands has shown up in reverse. That is a good African sight, isn't it? What was I saying about lions and pyramids? They have shown up. One of the things that was made very clear in this gossip was that Meghan Markle would certainly not herself want to move to Africa. She made that very clear. There were those rumours when they were having trouble in the UK that they were possibly going to move to South Africa. That was before the disappearance to Canada, and I think there was a hell no. I think it was quite a smart move on the part of the royal family to suggest that to the Harkles, because they knew she wouldn't fall for it. And it's confirmation, she's not going to fall for it. She's not interested. The Queen of Wands is not going to go to Africa. She's in a very angry mood there, very drama queeny mood. That's our Meg's sobbing on the floor when Harry says we've got to go to Africa and build houses for people, and you've got to teach them how to give birth, as if they don't know in Africa how to give birth safely, and only Meghan knows. It's too much. I can't even go there. I'll have a heart attack. Queen of Wands in reverse, though, not going to Africa, in a nutshell. So let's see about this Netflix documentary. It was a tour that they were, the meet and greety type of thing that they were planning. Were they planning such a thing as part of their business thing? Six of Pentacles in reverse is a Six of Pentacles, Six of Discs is the charity card, and look at the hands that are in the mix there. The color of the hands. The Six of Discs is the card of charity, of doing good deeds. But when it's in the reverse, doing good deeds, self-serving, it's very self-serving. It's taking from a situation rather than giving to a situation. Literally what the Six of Discs means in reverse. So they wanted to do something exploiting Africa. I think that's what that card says. That's my opinion of it anyway, my interpretation of the energy. And I think you could all agree that it shows exploiting Africa for their own gain, for their own nefarious purposes. How did it go? What was the reception in South Africa? That's an interesting card. It's an extra major arcana in this tarot deck, in this Lunar Soul tarot deck. It's wu-wei, it's about energy flow, it's about going with the flow, basically. Rolling along. I'm just rustling through the little book just to see if there's anything that that grabs my attention. Acting in accordance with destiny, it says. So you're basically going along with the stream, with the flow, with the energy, and following rather than leading. It's not giving resistance, it's giving the kind of, it is giving resistance, but it's giving resistance in a very clever way. The river would resist, allow them in, They could be allowed into the water and float along, but there would be obstacles in the water that would, or they'd be channeled into other things. So I don't think that they had absolutely not, and we won't greet you, and we won't give you this, and honor you, and all the rest of it. I think that they realized along the way that the reception was not what it seemed on the surface. So don't think from that card. It's a complex energy, that card. I think it was played quite cleverly, that they weren't told an emphatic no, don't you dare set foot in the country, but it was a more we'll roll with it. We'll roll with it, but we'll steer it in a different direction, just using energy and using subtlety. That's what I'm getting from it. As I say, quite complex, but definitely an awareness of the exploitation in the card above, an awareness that this was for their own purposes, not for the good of the people of South Africa. And so it got just jump in, swim along, we'll carry you along, but we'll dump you on a shore filled with debris, and you won't have got where you expected to get. So enough of that metaphor. I think you get the point. Let's move on to the visa problem now. How serious is it? How worried is he about the visa problem? Harry, those are, oh goodness, there's so many lions and pyramids showing up. He's already packed. He's packed and he's off. Goodness me. This is impetuous, hot-headed energy, the Knight of Wands always. He's not even hanging around to wait and find out what's happening. He's packed his suitcase. He's on his way. And we know where he's heading, on that line. And that's actually funny, with the sun burning down, that fair skin. I know the perils of fair skin like that, and you can all see the age spots and the wrinkles and whatever, despite abundant amounts of cream and sunscreen and all the rest of it. Yeah, the sun does what it wants to do here. And so he's on his way. This is not a card of worry or maybe or anything like that. It's, I've decided and I'm off. How does he feel about going back to the UK with tail between legs? We've got Four of Wands, very unhappy. It would be humiliating. He's done all his woke stuff, and now he's a joke, because it's my very woke tarot deck with him dancing around the sort of teepee thing there. Went off to California to live the Californian life, and now it's all over. The unhappy home, the broken home, which the Four of Wands represents, back with tail between his legs, can't do that, because he made such a song and dance about how marvelous life was in California, and how much better it was, and he was so in tune with himself, and you know, he'd done all this work on himself and wasn't meditating and tapping and doing whatever else he was doing, and now it's all come crashing down, and it would just be too much. It's the celebration card, the marriage. It's one of the marriage cards, celebration cards, happy home cards when it's upright, all the reverse when that card is in the reverse. So yeah, you can tell he, as I say, has packed his suitcase already, is on his way. He could even be on a private jet right now as we speak. But so is Harry going to end up in Africa on his own? He looks very much like he is. 8 of Discs. That's so much just hurtling towards me as I see that card. It's the work card. So yes, he will come to Africa to put his head down and work, do charity, and make himself useful, help out. The Ace of Pentacles, very hardworking, very focused, very committed, all of that. But the thing that is swirling around in my brain, and I'm sure in many of yours as you're watching this reading and looking at these cards, is his art project, or whatever it was that he had to do at Eton for his A-levels, where there was the scandal of the teacher who helped him with his art, and there was also the scandal of him allegedly copying an Australian artist's I'm trying not to offend people, terminology, but let's just say a local Australian, his artwork, his sort of indigenous art that Harry allegedly ripped off. What is that? It's somebody painting, somebody doing something, arts and craftsy kind of a thing, making stuff. Maybe he's going to get involved with a charity that helps people, you know, there's endless basket weaving and beadwork and all that stuff. Unfortunately, doesn't really help anyone, but there it is. That is where we are still here, and with vast unemployment and levels of illiteracy, poor education, governments that have failed to educate and uplift, and all the rest of it. It's telling me that yes, he will end up in Africa somewhere doing those kinds of upliftment projects with people who are unskilled, indigent, desperate, and all the rest of it, and that he will be there and will find his way to some extent. But is this the making of Prince Harry? Is this his divine destiny? Is this something that is going to transform him? Is it going to bring huge blessings to Africa? And yes, I do sound snarky, but anyway, let's have a look and see whether Marjorie is onto something. We've got the King of Cups in reverse. A lot of emotion in the King of Cups. A lot of, I think he's going to feel very sad is such a trite word, but it is the word when the King of Cups is in reverse. The King of Cups upright, he's in control of his emotions, he is empathetic, he's kind, he's all those good things, but he controls his emotions, he's not swept away by them. In reverse, our King of Cups has got emotional problems. He may connect very much with people at an emotional level, the people who are suffering, who are struggling, so many of them in all kinds of different ways, not just poverty but also disease, living conditions and all the rest of it. We won't go on about it, it's terribly depressing, but somebody who various things, his own emotional upset will be coming with him to be worked on. If he's ever going to work on himself and resolve all of those emotions that he is prey to, Africa will be the place where he does that work. He's also going to feel overwhelmed. He's going to feel very sad. That word has come back at the circumstances that he finds people in. He has noticed it before. He set up Centre Bali, the AIDS Foundation, when he was very young, but he did tend to kind of abandon it at some level. That's my perspective. I'm not saying that he literally abandoned it. He still does fundraising for it. But I think it's kind of dropped from his priority. Invictus is now the central thing. But I think he's going to reconnect emotionally with people, and he's going to find it hard going. It's not telling me that he is the Messiah, this is the second coming, there is some sort of awakening and everybody's, trumpets are going to sound and things like this. I think for him it's going to be a very private journey. He's going to be grieving. He's got a lot of work to do on himself, to do with the losses that he suffered, his mother, and I would imagine his wife. By the time he rolls in and all of this happens, there will be a divorce behind him, some strange things going on with children. We're going to look at that on Sunday. It's Mother's Day, so we're saving that for then. But yeah, he's got big work to do on himself emotionally, and Africa is where he's going to do it. It is the heart-shaped continent, of course, and so what better, where better to do it than in Africa? And if he can do some good as the King of Cups, then let's hope that he does. But that card is in the reverse, so he really has got his work cut out before he gets through his own mess, his own emotional mess, and starts to really connect with people and help them. Maybe through connecting and helping them, he will help himself. And that is always the way it goes. Serve others, service to others, and then you heal yourself. So that is the reading. Yeah, he's definitely on his way. So that is for sure. And thank you for watching. I'm going to get on with the next one now.